What's up, everybody? This is Zoya, the Russian Korean. Bad news. Bad news, folks. I mean, should I say, there is some good news, but I think it's mostly bad news. But the reason why I'm making this video, and it's kind of a rant, but I felt like I needed to make it in order to just give you guys an update on what's happening, I guess, or what's going to be happening in the near future. And also for those of you who maybe just stumbled upon this video because you yourself were looking for some sort of answers, or you were looking for someone in a similar situation, like mine, like yours, I don't know. So welcome, because this video is going to be about the new foreign creators tax law that is now going to be enforced on YouTube, and I am expecting this to trickle down to other platforms, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. So what I'm gonna do in this video is I'm gonna talk about basically kind of like 4 things. Number 1, I'm going to talk about the actual new foreign creators tax law that's affecting my channel and many other channels, I'm sure, on YouTube as well, and the reason why so many people are angry about it. I mean, probably if you're not a creator, or if you're just not kind of on the lookout for these kinds of things, you don't know what's happening, but maybe this video will shed some light on the current situation and why so many people are kind of upset about it. So yeah, we're going to talk about the law, then we will talk about something called a TIN, and I'll explain a little bit later how that affects me. Then I'm going to talk about the things that are upsetting, right? And also my personal case, what's happening with me, and I'll conclude with how things are going to be going forward, and hopefully there's going to be a good update on the channel, on my channel specifically, and then maybe give other people some ideas on what to do. Okay, so first off, the new foreign creators, I'm going to call it the new foreign creators tax law. I mean, I'm sure there is an official name for it, and I'm just going to start, I guess, in chronological order here. So what happened was I and a number, probably everybody on YouTube, they received an email on March 10th. So that was about a week ago. And this is what the email actually said. So this is from my actual email address. And yeah, this is what it said. Hi there. I like how they start this a really ominous thing with a hi there. Yeah, it says, we're reaching out because Google will be required to deduct US taxes from payments to creators outside of the US later this year, as early as June 2021. Over the next few weeks, we'll be asking you to submit your tax info in AdSense to determine the correct amount of taxes to deduct, if any apply. If your tax info isn't provided by May 31st, Google may be required to deduct up to 24% of your total earnings worldwide. And then it just tells you what you need to do. And then why is this happening? This is pretty important. Google, because YouTube, right, is under Google. So whatever Google is doing, YouTube has to kind of do as well. Google has a responsibility under Chapter 3 of the US Internal Revenue Code to collect tax info from all monetizing creators outside of the US and deduct taxes in certain instances when they earn income from viewers in the US. For creators outside of the US, we will soon be updating our terms of blah, 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 blah. Your earnings from YouTube will be considered royalties from a U.S. tax perspective. This may impact the way your earnings are taxed, and as required by U.S. law, Google will deduct taxes. And yada, 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 yada. So that's the email that I received at first, and I was like, okay, I think I should be able to handle this. All I need to do is just update my tax information and I'm good, right? So yeah, that's kind of what I thought at first. But then when I went on my actual AdSense account and tried to, fill out the information, I found out that I'm in trouble. And I also realized that probably most other people are in trouble as well. So here's the breakdown. Probably most of you know that if you have more than 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, as well as a certain number of watch hours on your channel, then you can apply to become a YouTube partner, which basically means that you become monetized through ads that are being displayed on your channel. And so as people watch your videos, they also watch the ads that are being displayed, or you're getting a portion of the YouTube premium that people paid so that they don't have to watch the ads. But anyways, you get the point. Like, you start monetizing your channel, hopefully making some money from your videos. And those who have been working on YouTube really hard and making videos, producing content, they've been able to do it full time so that it becomes like their main source of income. So yeah, it's possible to become a full-time YouTuber for sure. But now with all these new things getting introduced and, you know, the changes happening, it's definitely getting a lot more difficult for newer and smaller creators especially. So I know I read the email, but YouTube also released a video kind of breaking down the email. They just kind of explain how you need to fill out the information and all that stuff. I'm not going to show the video. It's too boring. You can find it on YouTube yourself if you'd like to see. One thing for sure is that more people dislike it than like it. And I mean, I'm not surprised. But in simple words, this new law basically says that if you are a YouTube creator who is not located in the United States and you're not a US citizen or a US resident, then you still have to pay taxes to the US government for the views that you are generating in the United States. So let's say I make a video and then 20% of the views that I get on that video are from the US. That 20% is going to get taxed. From the money that I make on those 20% of the US views, it will deduct however much it determines, the system determines that they need to deduct according to this law. The revenue that I would have received before now would be split kind of even more so that I receive less because I now have to get taxed on those views. There's a big misunderstanding, I think, among people thinking that this applies to all of your views. It doesn't apply to all of your views. It just only applies to whatever views you're generating in the States, from within the States. So let's say if you're a foreign YouTuber and you don't generate any views from the US, then this law kind of doesn't affect you. But if you're making videos and you have a substantial or the majority of your audience in the States, then this definitely affects you a lot. It also affects all sources of monetization on the platform. So it's not just from AdSense. It's also anything from super chats, from the join button, the memberships, YouTube Premium, and everything else that's directly related to the platform. So yeah, like basically a large chunk of your monetization, especially if some or a lot of your views are happening in the States, they're going to get affected by this law really badly. Now, there is a solution to this that YouTube claims, and like, okay, and I've seen some US-based YouTubers make videos about this, and they make it sound like it's so easy. They say that if you live in a country that has a tax treaty with the United States, then you can claim the tax treaty benefits. The US has a lot of treaties with lots of different countries. For example, Canada, United Kingdom, or Australia, or South Korea, right? All those countries and many, many more, they have different kinds of tax treaties. So depending if you want to claim benefits because you live in that country, then you should be able to do that, right? But this is where the caveat is. And that's what I thought, because I was like, well, Korea has a tax treaty with the United States, so I should be able to claim some treaty benefits. Isn't that right? Wrong. So let me explain why. When you fill out the form, completing your tax information on AdSense, Google AdSense, because you're now required to do it. Because if you don't do it, then your entire content, not just the views in the US, but the entire content is going to get taxed 24%. And like, that's actually a lot. And if you want to avoid that, then you have to fill this out. So of course, you know, as a creator myself, I go and fill out the information. And what I find out related to the tax treaty is that in order to claim any tax treaty benefits from your country, right, you need what's called a TIN. Now you might wonder, what's a TIN? I didn't know either. I had to do some research. And this is what I found. And by the way, this is also the link that Google provides, right? But this is from irs.gov, right? So this is official information. TIN is a taxpayer identification number. Now, if you are a business or like a corporation, then it wouldn't be individual, but for most creators, it's an individual taxpayer identification number. So, it's like, it's so boring, but so what is an ITIN? An individual taxpayer identification number, or ITIN, is a tax processing number issued by the Internal Revenue Service, or IRS. The IRS issues ITINs to individuals who are required to have a US taxpayer identification number, but who do not have and are not eligible to obtain a social security number from the Social Security Administration. So basically, if you don't have a social security number and you need to deal with tax stuff dealing with the US, then you have to have a TIN. So what I realized is that if you don't have a TIN, then you cannot claim any tax treaty benefits. So what is an ITIN used for? I think this last sentence is probably the best. It says ITINs do not serve any purpose other than federal tax reporting. Okay, so you just need the number for this whole tax spiel. And so when you are doing the AdSense thing on Google for your YouTube channel, what happens is when you're filling it out and you try to claim treaty benefits, it says that you cannot proceed unless you have a TIN number. You cannot claim any treaty benefits unless you have the TIN. And when you go back to the option to fill out the TIN, it specifically, it gives you 2 lines. One of them is for social security number and another is for the TIN. And even if you have a social security number, but you want to claim treaty benefits, you still have to have the TIN. Your social security kind of doesn't matter there. You really need the TIN. And here is where the tricky part comes in, okay? At least for me. All right. My case is probably even weirder than most other people's cases, but just bear with me, okay? I need a TIN, right? So it says, if so, then you must apply for a TIN. I'm like, okay, let's see how I can apply for it. So I click on this thing and it takes me to this page, right? How do I apply? You have to fill out like 2 different forms. I think the W-7, at least one form, and you need to mail it to the IRS, okay? Trust me, I lived in the States for 12 years. I've dealt with this quite a lot. And like, trust me, this takes forever. All right. This takes ages. Like, they're going to start this whole thing in June. There's no way this gets done by June, even if I mail it like today. Okay. It's going to take forever. I believe one time I mailed something in there and it took like a year. And then I called them multiple times and they were like, it's blah blah, like it's just a mess. Okay, it's the government. It's very, very messy and bureaucratic, and like you kind of don't want to deal with it. But let's say you really want this TIN, you're willing to go through this pain, you have to do this, right? It's not like you can just fill out some form online and then get it done. Like, you actually have to Anyway. Another thing you can do is you can apply for the number in person using the services of an IRS authorized certifying acceptance agent. It just means that if you are abroad and you don't want to send your proof of identity and foreign status documents, you don't want to send that to the IRS, then you can actually deal with these agents. And if I click on this, you can see in different countries there are different kinds of agents. So let's go to South Korea, for example, right? And it tells you like the name and the address that you can mail it to, but it's pretty much the same thing. You just need to mail information to these people. So again, it's not an easy process, and it's definitely not going to get done quickly. It says, how long does it take? You will receive a letter from the IRS assigning your tax identification number, usually within 7 weeks if you qualify for an ITIN and your application is complete. So, like, I have a hard time believing that this is actually true. Getting everything done in under 2 months? That's suspicious. That's very suspicious. But anyway, you get the point. Like, there is a process for getting this number if you want to claim treaty benefits, and like, okay, fine. Here is my weird case. In my case, I do not have a TIN, right? I have a social security number, but I don't have a TIN. It's interesting though that when they say, and like we saw that on the page, right? It said you only need a TIN if you are not qualified for a social security number. Like, I already have one, but I can't use it to claim treaty benefits, right? Because that deals with foreign stuff. So I still do need a TIN. And so I have a social security number. I don't have a TIN. I live in a country that has a tax treaty with the United States, but I cannot claim the benefits because I don't have the TIN, and but I do have a social security, so I technically don't need a TIN. It's like I had to like wrap my mind around this before I was like, so what do I do now? It's so convoluted. And I can see how this could be like so discouraging for someone, you know, abroad, not in the States, someone abroad just like trying to make it on YouTube, and then they run into this, right? Like, I started my channel without this, and like it's only been a little bit over a year, and now this is happening. And so when I actually completed my form without the TIN, I couldn't claim any tax treaty benefits. I'm actually actually going to get taxed the maximum amount on literally everything. It's insane. Let me just show you guys. This is from my Google Adsense page, and this is the conclusion that they made. Tax forms and withholding rates. Motion picture and TV default withholding rate 30%. That's the maximum that they can take, okay? Other copyright default 30%, and service default, which also includes like everything that has to do with ads, it's 30%. So on everything I do, it's 30%, even though I live in Korea. So if I do decide that I don't want to pay this much money to the US government, even though I'm not gonna get really anything in return, because I don't even live there, then I'm gonna have to go through this lengthy process of getting a TIN. And until I have that number, unfortunately, I'll just have to deal with these numbers here. But here's what's upsetting. Okay. And here's why I think it will actually affect really mostly the smaller creators who are foreign based on YouTube. For those of you who don't know, YouTube is already taking 45% of what you're making on YouTube. So if you are monetized, you have a channel, YouTube is already deducting 45% from what you are fully making from all the stuff that's monetized on your channel. Now they're also going to be taking however much, in my case 30%, from all the views that I'm generating in the States. And on my channel, actually most of my views are from the States. Like I checked out my monthly views to see where, like geographically where it's located, and like at least 30% every month is from the States, which is a huge chunk of, I guess, my views, because I guess a lot of my viewers are in North America. I'm sure that's also the case for a lot of other creators out there. And so although YouTube is already taking 45% by default from what you're making, they technically could choose to foot the bill in this case, right? They didn't have to put the burden of like conforming to this new tax law that the US government passed to the actual creators themselves, but no. They don't want to foot the bill. They are kind of throwing us, the little guys, under the bus here to conform. And that's why I think it hurts small foreign-based creators the most, because if you want to keep doing your channel, it requires time. The amount of time that you have to put into YouTube to manage your channel, to film new videos, to edit videos, and to keep pumping out content in order to even sustain the channel, because if you don't make content, it quickly goes down. So you have to be diligent and keep doing it. You have to invest a lot of time into it. And if you are investing a lot of time, but it's not generating anything in return, or generating very little, then what does that mean? You probably will be investing less time in it, which means it's going to generate even less, at which point, like, you have to survive, right? You probably have a full-time job or like another thing that you're doing on the side to make a living. And if YouTube is not paying off, then I think, especially for smaller creators that already aren't making that much anyway, it's going to be even harder. You might say, well, why don't you just make videos and don't target the US audience? Well, first of all, you can't really do that. You can't just shut your video away from the US somehow. Also, why would you do that? Especially because if you look at it from, the monetization perspective, United States actually has one of the highest CPMs worldwide. And what's a CPM? It's a cost per mil, which is, or me, I guess in French. And the cost per me is actually the amount that an advertiser pays to YouTube for 1,000 views or clicks on the ad that they post. And so the higher the CPM, the more money you make, right? From the 1,000 views that you get from seeing that ad. There are lots of different smaller variables that go into a CPM, but a lot of times it has to do with geography. And as a creator, you generally try your best. If you want your channel to be sustainable and to live longer, then you really need to pay attention to, the dominant CPM on your channel. Try to make videos that will also generate higher CPMs if you're thinking of keeping your channel more long-term, not just as a side or like a hobby. But now that there are these tax laws and YouTube is taking 45% of everything you're making, then, the good old days of, making it big on YouTube, even without being in the States, I think those days are kind of gone. You can still make it big, I'm sure, but it's gonna be a rough ride. Some people, I saw some people talking about like, well, this is probably gonna affect like PewDiePie a lot. But the thing is, PewDiePie lives in a country that has a treaty like a 0%, so he's gonna be just fine, guys. And he probably has people helping him with all this TIN and tax treaty stuff. And like, I don't have an agent, okay? I have to do everything myself. I think that's the majority actually of smaller creators on YouTube. We're just trying to make it, just trying to post videos, just enjoy the community and make videos that everyone likes, that we enjoy as well, and just keep creating content, grow the channel. But then this happens and it just doesn't feel good, man. Doesn't feel good. Like I said, the good old days of, you know, being creative and passionate and making it on YouTube. I mean, you can probably still do it, but it's going to be a lot harder. And the increasing trend that I'm seeing on YouTube actually is that the platform is not so much about those smaller creators anymore. I mean, it still claims that it is about them, but it really isn't, because all the things that are happening, that are changing legally and financially, you know, from that point of view, it kind of makes YouTube more of like a new cable TV platform. Because what I'm seeing, as they are pushing off smaller creators to the side, they're actually bringing up more of the, like, a bigger media. It benefits more the, you know, the media, the big media companies that are kind of dying on TV anyway, and they're trying to kind of take over platforms like YouTube, where, like, you know, they install all the different, you know, fact checkers and whatnot. They probably don't have to go through the whole hassle of applying for a TIN. And they certainly don't have as hard of a time as independent creators who are kind of like me, you know, who are not affiliated with big media, who are just making their own content and trying to voice their own opinions, and also just share their passions with like-minded people who watch their videos. Those days, I mean, I would like for those days to keep continuing, but unfortunately it might, it's definitely getting a lot harder, and I don't really know how long, like, people like me, I guess, can last, because I don't know what's coming next, right? Right now it's this law, you know, next month is going to be another law. So that brings me to my last point, which is going forward. What am I going to be doing with all this happening? I'll just have to see how this law affects my revenue. I mean, I'm not making much right now anyway. YouTube is not my full-time job. I would like it to be. I would like to be able to dedicate my attention to my channel, my videos, my streams. But right now I just can't do that because, like, I need to survive. Like, I need to eat and pay rent. So yeah, I have to teach, which is my, I guess you can say, real job, where I make most of my money. So yeah, I'm just gonna have to see how the revenue gets affected. If it makes it really bad, then I don't really know if it'll be worth, like, just honing in even harder on making videos and streaming, or just cut my time that I dedicate to the channel and spend it more on teaching and classes. I don't know. I do not think that moving on to other platforms is going to make that much of a difference. Why am I saying this? Is because, well, you might think that it's YouTube, but it's not YouTube, right? It's the law. Right, YouTube didn't create the law. The law was created by the US government, and I mean, I'm not going to get political about this, but let's just look at the facts here. There's a law, right? So it will trickle down to other platforms as well. Now, how other platforms will handle it, platforms, let's say, like Twitch, other monetizing media platforms that allow people to post their things and generate revenue from that, especially those that are American-based, which I would say for now are the majority. How they choose to handle this law may be different. So in YouTube's case, they choose not to foot the bill. They want the creators to take the hit. Maybe, let's say, Twitch, when they have to comply to the law, they'll be like, okay, we will take care of it. You guys keep doing what you're doing. They could choose to do that. I doubt that it will happen though, but it's possible. So in that case, you might actually see creators being more active on other platforms, but YouTube is still probably the best just for reaching out. Like, there's a reason why all these famous Twitch streamers actually have YouTube channels as well. So yeah, as far as I can see, it will trickle down to other platforms, and we'll just have to see how it affects creators, specifically foreign-based. So for me, my plan, I'll keep making content because I enjoy doing it. I want to keep making videos. I want to keep streaming because I love it. I would love to be able to do it full time, but right now I can't. And I don't know if in the future, as this is going into effect, I don't know if I'll actually be able to make it a full-time thing. Worst case scenario, I just have to stop because time is limited, and yeah, there are other priorities in life, I guess, that I will have at that point where, like, I just need to survive. So maybe you're a viewer and you're just wondering what can you do to help, especially smaller creators. You keep watching the videos, you keep commenting, you subscribe, you like, you share. It's probably the best way. But another way is also through donations and subscriptions that are outside of the platform. So, like Subscribe Star, Patreon, and those kinds of things. If the creator has them, supporting them monthly through even just, like $5, $2, whatever you want to give, like that actually will help a lot. And I'm expecting to see this become more of a trend with foreign-based creators. That being said, I also have a donation page and a Patreon. So if you care, if you'd like, you can visit those and just check them out. But yeah, so yeah, any shape or form of support and encouragement from you guys is really meaningful for me. I have a small channel. I'm doing everything kind of by myself. And yeah, your support really keeps me going and encourages me to keep making content, keep being out there, because it's not easy just in itself. And then when these kinds of things get like on top of it, all these laws and requirements and just the hard work that you put into it, when it's being like kind of taken away from you, then yeah, it just makes it even harder. So yeah, that was my rant for the day. What do you guys think about this? Have you heard about this at all? Have you seen any other YouTubers or your favorite creators talk about it at all? Or do you think everything's fine and we should just comply, and if we don't make much, then we don't make much. We should still keep going, because yeah, let me know in the comment section below. And thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel. This is Zoya, the Russian Korean. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.